Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest. You may know him as a former Omega heavyweight champion. He's been everywhere, the WWF, ECW. He's done it all. First name Cham, last name Pain. He's Mr. Marty Garner. Marty, welcome to Two-Man Power Trip. How you doing?
Going on, my brother? How you doing, man?
Good. What's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
Man, a little bit of everything, man. I got a full-time job, and I'm still working the wrestling scene, man, the indie scene. I just did a little shoot about 2 weeks ago for AEW for the Matt Hardy deletion match over at his house, over at the Hardy compound.
Yep.
Let me get this straightened out. But just here and there, man, I did a little something for GCW in January. That was January, I think, 22nd, I think it was, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And just been all over the place, man. Did a little something for AML a while back, and just having fun, man. Still out there and trying to get my groove on a little bit, you know.
You still keeping up with the business, I guess. I mean, you know all these promotions in these places. Are you keeping up with it?
Yeah, man. I'm keeping up with the business, man. I went to a show about about 3 years ago now, independent show, and I hadn't been in the game for about 10 or 12 years. I had we'll get into that a little later, but I worked for Dwayne Johnson for a while, and I came back, and I kind of started drifting away from the business, and so it's about, I guess it's been about 12 years, and I went to a show because I knew some guys on the show. Took my little girl. I have a 7-year-old little girl and almost a 2-year-old little girl right now, and took her to the show, and she had a blast. And she said, "Daddy, you used to do this," and I said, "Yeah, baby." And I said, "You know what? I want to start doing it again." I mean, just when you're a wrestler, it never gets out of your blood. I don't care how old you are, you still want to do it. It's the disease, man. Once you have a taste of it, it's like crack. You can never get that taste away, hardly. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to have it. So I got back in about 3 years ago, man, and got in some of the best shape of my life, man. And my cardio is really it's great right now. I mean, I ain't bragging, but I've got my cardio to a good point. Been in the ring a little bit. Me and Jeff Hardy's been training a little bit together. He's trying to get back in shape, and I'm trying. I was trying to get back in shape. So anyway, man, yeah, I'm back, and just having a good time with it, man. And if somebody ever wanted to give me a contract, of course I would take it. Somebody said to me, man, once you get our age, man, we ain't trying to get into business anymore. And I looked at him. I said, "Who ain't?" I said, "Bro, it's a win-win." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got a good job here. I'm a land surveyor, so land surveying is never going to go out of business. So if I get a contract and I get to work a year or two at a promotion, man, so be it. It'd be great.
When you look at that, right? I mean, you left the business for a while, you came back. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You know what I mean? Because you step away and you come back, like you're saying, like you get almost like a drug kind of thing. So, is it good to get back into it, or should you not get back into it?
Well, yeah, I guess, man. I mean, I could get hurt. I understand that because I'm still a fool. I still do crazy stuff, man. I still come off the top and do crazy stuff and go to the outside and all this mess off, doing dives and stuff. But I don't know, man. It's good for me, I guess, my mentality. And I guess, man, what I'm trying to say is I've never been a quitter. I don't like to just quit something and say I can't do that anymore. I don't want to ever do that again. I guess I'm trying to prove something to myself a little bit too, that I can still do it, and I'm still okay. And I don't know. I guess it's for my ego, and plus I wanted my little girls to see me do it live. You know what I mean? And my
Yep.
littlest girl, she's only been to one match because she gets a little. We didn't want to scare her taking her to a match too soon, so she's been to one match, and she's standing up with her mommy over there, and I could see her pointing at me. She's going, "Daddy," but she didn't. She wasn't scared. So I don't know, man. I guess we'll see if it's a good thing or not. Time will tell, I guess.
How often do you wrestle like nowadays? How often are you doing it?
Man, I'm only doing something like a couple times a month right now, man. You know what I'm saying? And if some more work comes up, man, I'm in an area right now where I'll have to go to Charlotte or Greensboro or Winston Salem to work. That's Winston Salem's a good drive away, but when I was on the Indies, I drive out. I drove one time for an ECW match. I drove to the Midwest for a show, and it took me 22 hours to get there. And all I did was a run in for ECW, and I got paid $75, and I drove 22 hours back home.
Wow.
So yeah,
Jeez.
but back in those days, I would do that. Nowadays, it's like I'm not up for that right now. That kind of. I feel like I've paid my dues enough where I'm not going to drive 20 hours somewhere. I'm not going to drive 5 hours somewhere. Somebody wants me to come, they can, get me a ticket or something. But
Right, right.
times have changed too. Things have changed, and the business has changed so much, man. Now, man, it's the psychology isn't like it used to be. You know what I mean? It's run and gun now the whole time, and you better have your butt in shape now with these young guns out there. Not to say any AEW names, but Billy Gunn's boys, man, they never worked the Indies. I've heard they never worked the Indies and they went straight to AEW. But those cats, they can work. Back in the day, you didn't hear tell of anybody not doing the indie circuit first. But nowadays, man, it don't matter, man. If you can work, you can work, and or somebody thinks you can work, you go get a position. So it's a whole different ball game, man. Everything's changed, but I'm trying to change with it. I'm trying to accept some of the new things that I don't really like too much, but I'm trying to change with that. The new attitude, the new era.
To me, though, I know some of it's good, some of it's a little iffy, but I don't know, the lack of selling. You know what I mean? It's just it, and if they move too fast, I mean, am I crazy or is the psychology way off nowadays?
Yeah, no, you're not crazy. The psychology is way off. Um, Ric Flair could go in a match back in the day and work an arm bar and never get one boring. You know what I'm saying? He'd
Right.
be in there for 45 minutes working an arm bar or something, a body part or whatever. Never hear one boring because he had the crowd so involved in that match. And I think the art of getting people to, get involved more in your match without having to kill yourself. You know what I mean? These guys are killing themselves now, man. I mean, they're doing some phenomenal stuff, man. Don't get me wrong, man. Please, I'm not saying these guys aren't talented, but I feel like that real talent was somebody like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Chief Wahoo McDaniel, some of those cats, man, from back in the day. Uh, Jimmy Valiant, Boogie Woogie Man. Those guys could sell anything, man, and it was so fun to watch. And if you compare one of their matches back in the day to a match today, man, the moves aren't there. But I'm telling you, they had the crowd hotter than some of these guys will have the crowd doing spots the whole time. You know what I mean? You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I always say that like some of the guys back then they'll do something very simplistic and the crowd go nuts. To nowadays the guys will do something Canadian destroyer something break the guy's neck, get a clap, get an ovation and then like their crowd is dead. It's like, wow, like they did so little and got so much that this guy almost broke his neck and the crowd gave it one tiny pop and they kind of moved on. It was I don't know, very very weird.
Here's the trick: do as least amount as possible to get the biggest pop. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like a guy told me one time when I was on the gas. He said, "You want to do the least amount possible to get the most gain." He said, "If you keep pumping that stuff in you, you're not going to get any more gain." He said, "You're going to hurt yourself more." So you hurt yourself more, I think, with all these spots, man. You go after your match, you shouldn't feel like you've been in a car wreck. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Uh, not every match. I mean, some of these matches don't have to have all these crazy moves in them and spot monkeys everywhere. Yeah, I'm like you. I don't like the not selling a move, man. If I hit you with a big move and you kick out immediately, that what have I done? You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, I worked Jerry Lawler one time at WWE on a TV match, and they got mad at Jerry because he gave me too much. Jerry let me really do what I wanted to do, you know,
Yep.
and he gave me so much, man. I was so grateful for Jerry for doing that. And when he came to the back, they said, Jerry, who works here, you or Marty? You know, but see, Jerry was ahead of his time too, because you don't want to take an enhancement guy and squash him, because who have you beaten then? Make him look like he's worthy of being in a wrestling ring, and then you beat him, and then it means more. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
Makes perfect sense.
from with it, but you know, a lot of guys will probably sit and argue me till I'm blue in the face, but that's my opinion. Okay, it's like a butt crack. Everybody's got one. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
Yep. When you look at like today's wrestling, like okay, in what we're saying, we don't think it's as good as it was, but like you said, you're training with Jeff Hardy. He works for AEW. He's trying to make his comeback. What is that like? Are you guys trying to accommodate that style? Or are you trying to hopefully have those guys almost meet you in the middle or meet you halfway and you know what I mean, work your style?
right, it's kind of a meet in the middle type of deal. You know what I'm saying? I keep saying, you know what I'm saying. I got to quit that. It's kind of a meet in the middle type of thing, because I don't want to go full spot monkey every match. I want to do some high spots, and I want to make them mean something, but I don't want to go high spot, high spot, high spot, kick out, kick out, kick out, all this. I don't want to do that. Um, you know, my thing is, I told a guy this one time. He came in the ring. He was going to work me one night, and the first thing he did before we started the match, he does a backflip off the top rope, and we had a nice match. And after the match was over, he was like, "Hey man, how was the match?" I said, "First of all, man, don't ever ask anybody how the match was, because they're going to lie to you. If the match was good, you don't have to say anything to anybody. They're going to come up and say, great match. Don't ever ask." I said, when you ask, somebody will lie to you. They didn't even see your match, and they're going to lie to you. I said, but second of all, here's the deal. When you did that backflip into the ring, I said, man, you killed that backflip. I said, you did it later in the match. You did, a moonsault later in the match, but nobody popped for it because they'd already seen you do a backflip.
Yep.
You ruined it. I said, man, lead up to that, hit it at the end of the match, and nobody knows you can do it, and you do it, and then they're like, oh man, that was great. And I said, just make it make sense, dude. I said, and I was the worst when I first got started. My psychology was terrible. Okay, I went to ECW, and my psychology was horrible. I'll never forget Raven taking me into the ring. He said, Marty, let me show you a couple things. I was so grateful to that dude, man. He said, look, just don't miss the clothesline. Miss it and look like you was trying to take his freaking head off. He said, don't just miss it and turn around and dance. He said, do not dance. And it made so much more sense to me then. I said, if I'm missing something, I got to look like I really tried to hit that. And I'm stumbling after I miss it, like, dang, I missed it. You know, that type of psychology, man, that type of ring presence is what helped me so much, man. And I wasn't ready when I went to ECW to be there, and I hate that so bad, because that was a big opportunity for me, and I didn't perform like I should have, and I hate that, but I can't take it back, and so but now I'm having some great matches, and I know psychology now, and I don't get nerved up like I did when I was younger, and it's just so much more fun now to do than back then. Because back then, all I wanted to do was make sure I got all my stuff in. You know what I'm saying? I had
Yep.
to get everything in. So
Get my shit in. Yep.
yeah, let me
Yep.
get it in.
So how'd you get into ECW though? Because I know you were like the Raging Cajun, but you were also one of the Dupps, right?
Well, that Raging Cajun thing was by accident. I worked at WCW one night, and they called me. They mistook me for the Raging Cajun for some reason. I don't know why, but I never worked that gimmick. That was just some kind of a fluke that happened there. Um, but the way I got into ECW was, well, Matt and Jeff had taken off to WWE. Shannon Moore was at WCW. Shane Helms was at WCW. Joy Matthews, Christian York was at WWE. And I told Mike Maverick, he used to work with Shane Helms. They were, God, what was their name? The Serial Thrillers. And it was Shane Helms and Mike Maverick. So I had Mike and I had Murray Happer, who was Otto Schwantz. And Otto Schwantz and Mike and myself, I said, look, we need to make a video. We need to send this video to ECW, man. I said, we're going to be the Dupps family. Because Mike had said something one time about somebody coming in the locker room telling them, don't you come in here all jacked up. He said, I want to be jacked up sometime. I said, all right, we're going to be the Dupps family. I'm going to be pucked up. That's my nickname is Puck. So I'll be pucked up. You're jacked up. Murray is bowed up. I said, and my girlfriend's name is going to be Made Up. And we're going to do a video. And we did a video about how we're going to start training and getting into the wrestling business and all this jazz. And the video lasted about 10, 12 minutes. We didn't have one lick of wrestling on that tape. We sent it to Tommy Dreamer. He called us up for a tryout match. And Tommy said, I got to tell you guys something. He says, when we first got that tape, the first night in the locker room, we watched that thing like 6 or 7 times, me and all the boys. He said,
wow.
We popped hard. He said it popped us so much, man. We said, we got to get these guys here because it was funny. I wrote it where it was funny stuff, you know. And he said, we popped so hard on that, Marty. And I said, well, that's good. That's what we wanted. He said, you didn't have any wrestling on there, but I want to see you guys wrestle. I want to see you guys work. And that's how we got in up there. But
well, awesome. And obviously the Dupp, I mean, it was copied by TNA too, but good gimmick, good creation there with the Dupps.
Yeah, it was funny. One night I was working Mike Awesome, and Mike picks me up, throws me over the top rope. You know, I do a singles match with Mike, and I forget who was commentating now, but they said, "Oh my God, Puck's hurt. Call his mother, call his girlfriend, call his wife." And he goes, "Oh wait, they're all the same person." And man, everybody popped for that. But that was a great commentary line. But and the Dupps didn't last too long at ECW because me, Mike, and Murray had a match one night, and just go put this out there. And and CW Anderson was riding with us. CW's from down here where we live too. And so CW Anderson was riding with us. He's driving. I'm riding in the passenger seat. Mike is behind me. Murray's behind CW, who's driving. And Mike kept talking about something I didn't do in the match. And I started to get ticked off, man. I'm like, Mike, I said, you need to shut your mouth, man. And Mike's about 275 at the time. He is jacked up, and literally. So I'm sitting in the front seat. He kept talking. I just turned around and I punched Mike right in his face. Bam, we're going down the highway. I go over the seat. Murray's pushing me back over my front seat there. And anyway, we stopped. And I said, Mike, get out the car. Man, you're going to have to go right now. He didn't get out. He said, man, we got to get to the hotel. Said, okay. We got to the hotel, and we had a guy following us. His name was Jimmy. He was a wrestling promoter. And I asked him if I could ride with him. So I rode with him to the hotel, and they got to the hotel. And the next day, they didn't want me to ride with them. So I didn't ride with them, and I got to the arena. And I walk up to Tommy Dreamer. I said, Tommy, I got to tell you something. He said, I already know, Marty. He said, you punched Mike Dupp in the face. He said, now you're over with all the boys. He said, he's got a black eye. I said, he's got a black eye? He said, go look at it. He said, you did good work. And so that got me over a little bit with Tommy there and the boys. But after that, about a weekend after that, they were supposed to be in Louisiana, and they didn't show up. I showed up. And when they did show up, Tommy said, I want to see you guys for a minute. He said, Paul wants to talk to y'all. So we talked to Paul, and he says, I want to give you guys full-time gigs after Christmas. And this was around November, December. He said, after Christmas, we're going to bring you guys on full-time. And I was like, all right. And so we leave the meeting, and Mike and Murray didn't act too happy about that. And I said, what's the deal, man? We're not together anymore. And he goes, nah, man. He said, the reason we didn't show up yesterday was because we was in Stamford, Connecticut. I said, at WWE? He said, yeah, we was at the headquarters. They're going to give us jobs. I said, they're going to give us jobs? He goes, no, they're going to give me and him jobs. And I'm like, oh, so it's like that, huh? And so that day was the day that I got the greatest news and I got the worst news. And then you're going to love this. On top of all that, I called the girl I was engaged to. And I said, hey, I was going to tell you something. And she goes, I need to tell you something too. So, okay, you go ahead. She goes, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm like, oh, this is
Oh,
great.
damn.
Thing the same day was hitting. And I'm like, wow, wow. And, but, I was like, well, something else will open up sometime soon, I guess. I stayed at ECW a little while longer, and I just couldn't afford to keep traveling like that without making bigger money. And I had to lay it down at ECW. But then other things started happening too, and I recovered from that, but it was just a hard blow at the time, man. I really wanted to, and like I said, for a singles guy at the time, I wasn't ready for ECW. My psychology wasn't ready because we had to train ourselves, me and Matt and Jeff and Jason Arndt, who later became Joey Ab. We had to train ourselves, and we kind of I didn't want to learn psychology. I wanted to be a spot monkey. It was kind of like back in the day. That's what I wanted to do when nobody was doing it, and now I don't want to do it, and everybody's doing it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
I've always been the odd man out on that, and it's okay. But yeah, it was a wild ride up at ECW, man. I had a blast, had a good time, did some crazy stuff. But and I'll never forget that. I've got stories to tell my kids one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. With like that crew, just in general, of all the guys you were mentioning from like Omega, where does that all start? Like, how do you guys get together? How do you put together? And like, where does the Champagne come from? Your awesome gimmick there. Like, where does that? How does that genesis all start with Omega? Because that's like 10 guys, that ended up on mainstream television, basically.
Right? Yeah. And not to be bragging or anything, but I don't think that'll ever be done again in a local federation that doesn't bring anybody in from out of town. I don't think that'll ever be done again, man. It was just that we caught lightning in a bottle. We didn't even know it. You know what I'm saying? We knew we had something special. We didn't know how special it was. But the way it started, um, I was working out down at Bass Fitness Center, a little fitness center down here, about 4 miles from my house in a little town called Bass, Bass. And this kid was coming in the gym working out, and he's like 5 years younger than me, 5 or 6 years younger than me. And I'm like, this kid's pretty cool. I'm like 24 at the time. This kid's like 18, and a big jacked up kid, man. I'm like, this dude's got some big shoulders, got a big back. What is this guy doing? We got to talking one day. He said, man, you should come to my house, man. He said, we got a wrestling ring out in the backyard. And I said, you got a real wrestling ring? He said, well, you'll see when you get there. And I'm like, okay. I said, man, I'm going to come over there Saturday. Of course, it was Matt Hardy's house I was going to. And I get there and I look out through the woods there and, just a bunch of pine trees. But they had this black plastic that, you can buy black plastic in these 6-foot rolls. So it was 6 foot tall, and they had this black plastic up on its end, and they had it wrapped around all these trees. Man, it had a great big area, so it looked like an actual arena out in the woods. And you walk inside the black plastic, and Jeff had graffitied the walls with paint, and spray paint and everything, and they had a round trampoline with garden hoses around it, wrapped around trees. And I'm like, holy cow! So I'm laughing, I'm like, man, this is corny, this is crazy. And Matt comes out and wrestles Jeff. Now Shannon Moore is around the ringside. He is actually a referee that's standing outside the ring, and he's about this tall. And I'm like, how old is this little kid? He was like 8 or 9 years old, probably out there doing this thing. He couldn't have been 10. There's no way. And so anyway, he's out there, and I'm like, oh my God. And later, Matt tells me it was entertaining what they did. And he says, look, man, we make these videotapes. He said, if we put all these matches on videotapes, he said, then we sell them to the local video store in Bass, and they rent them out. They rent these tapes out. I said, man, come on, dude. And I went down there, and sure enough, they had 3 tapes in the video store that you could rent out called Trampoline Wrestling Federation. And just to make it a little shorter, we met a guy a few months later, man, maybe, yeah, probably a few months later. And he had a wrestling ring, but it was a trampoline down the center of it. It was like 3 foot of trampoline in the center of it. The rest of it was plywood. So it was half wrestling ring, half trampoline. He wanted to start doing shows at the fair with us, the Moore County Fair, local fair. So we was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And man, we went out there, and people come out to watch it, and they were entertained. They loved it. But after a little while, we were like, man, we should really make this a regular ring. We should make the whole thing a hard ring, because nobody else does this. We look like a bunch of circus guys out here, Circus Soleil or something. And so anyway, we made it into a regular ring, and it looked like a soup bowl. It had a dip in the middle, and man, that was a horrible ring. But man, we thought it was great, and we went on from there, and we were the New Frontier Wrestling Alliance, and then we became Omega. Matt had an epiphany one night. He said, "Look, man, I had a dream." He said, "I think we should call our organization the Organization of Modern Extreme Grappling Art, Omega." And I said, "Yeah, we could use the Omega symbol, man." And at the time, they didn't know what that was. And I said, "Man, it's cool. Look at this." And I showed them. And so we started going by Omega. And the way I came up with Cham-Pain, we used to train every Sunday. We'd train in Bass at a guy named Tracy Cadell's house. Tracy was one of the founders of this federation, of Omega and everything, him and Matt. And Tracy's my age, and Tracy is the father of Trevor Cadell, who is Cameron Grimes. So this is Cameron Grimes' father I'm talking about. And we're all out in Tracy's yard. We're training, and Matt and Jason Arndt was in the ring, Joey Ab. They were in the ring training. And I'm just standing out there looking at Shannon Moore and everybody, and I'm going, "Oh, Shannon, oh, Shanny Claus, oh, Cham-Pain." I said, "Wait a minute, what? Cham-Pain?" I said, oh yeah, I like that. And so at the time, I was now this name I'm about to tell you did not come from Mortal Kombat. It came from a movie called The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, great movie, man. And the name was Sub-Zero that I came up with. I want to be Sub-Zero. He was the big ice skater guy, hockey guy on that movie. And so I was Sub-Zero, and we did a show. The next couple of weeks, we had a show at Southern Pines Armory, just 15, 20 minutes from our houses. And I told Matt, I said, "Look, man, I want to get amnesia. I want somebody to hit me so hard I fall out." And see, I think I was going against Matt Hardy for the heavyweight championship or something. I said, "Look, when I come out to the ring, Matt, as Sub-Zero, I'm going to have a champagne flask with me, ice bucket and all that. I'm going to set it up by ringside. So when I win, I'm going to celebrate." So I get knocked out, and they bring me back to, and they go, "Man, you know who you are?" And they had a mic on me, and they said, "You know who you are?" And I said, "Yeah, man." They said, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm okay." And I look around, and they said, "Who are you?" And I look around, and I see that champagne bottle, and I go, "I'm Cham-Pain. That's first name Sham, last name Pain, former male exotic dancer from Las Vegas, Nevada, who's traded my G-string for the wrestling ring at pound for pound. I'm the baddest man in the square circle." Oh, man, everybody started booing, throwing cups. Oh, they hated it, man. And I said, "Yeah, I got me a good gimmick now. I'm ready to roll." Because I turned heel and right then, and everybody hated it. And so that's how it became Cham-Pain, just from joking around with Shannon Moore. And, just by chance, it happened to slip out of my mouth. And I'm like, "Yep, I like it." And Matt hated it at first. Matt was like, "First name Sham, last name Pain." He just laughed at it. And after a while, I said, "Man, they got over pretty good, huh?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's the little thing called crowd participation. They like to say it with you, And
Oh yeah.
they do, man. He kind of gave me confirmation then that he liked it. He never said I really like it, but he smiled and said, "Yeah, they do." So that's the story behind Cham-Pain.
I love it. What's the relationship like throughout the years with the Hardy Boys? Because obviously, I mean, you've known them forever. They're still in the in the business day. You're still training with them today. So, what's the relationship like then and now with them?
Um, then everybody was single, nobody had kids. Now Matt has 4 kids. I have 2 girls at the house, and I have one son who's grown and out of the house. Um, Jeff has 2 kids, so it's a little different. We go out to eat time to time. Every month or two, we might go out and grab something to eat with the kids and the wives and everything. And we've gotten a little bit closer here lately than we were. For years, we didn't talk forever, man. For 10, 12 years there, we would just see each other periodically, man, every now and then, and wouldn't talk or whatever. And a while back, Matt said, "Marty, if you want to get back in this game, you got to become relevant again, man." He said, "People have forgotten Cham-Pain." I said, "Oh, I know." He said, "So you got to get on Instagram and Twitter and all these social media sites, and you got to start causing a stir again." And I said, "Absolutely, dude." And so I got on Instagram and Twitter, and I got on Facebook for a while, but Facebook was just getting kind of old to me. There was too many people on there that knew me from the past, and everybody wanted to chat every day, and I didn't have time to chat with 15, 20 people a day. So I was like, as much as I hate to get off of here, I'm gonna have to get off of Facebook. Had a bunch of
When
crazy little cats still trying to get with you and stuff too, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm married now, and I can't do that. So
Hey, when you look
uh,
at it though, they're all remembering you though. They all want to reach out and touch you, if you will.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, and it's flattering. Don't get me wrong, it's flattering, but I'm in a whole different place than I used to be, man. I I got in church, man. I got my heart right with the Lord too, man. And I had a wreck one night. Got my 4th DUI that night. Went to the hospital and I said, you know what, I'm done. This is it. Something just came over me, man, and I was like, I'm done. I'll never drink again. So I don't drink anymore. I don't curse anymore. I used to curse like a freaking sailor. And not that there's not times that I want to say something really bad, but
Right.
you know, it's my life different, man. I live a great life, man. If I never make it to that big scene, man, I'm fine. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Um, but man, I'm enjoying my life, man. I enjoy doing stuff like this, man. It's a treat for me just to talk to new people and tell them my story, man. Because a lot of people they don't know my story, and it would take me a 8-hour session to tell everything that you know has actually happened. But
Right.
I'm enjoying it, man.
Now, obviously, I think a lot of people will remember you from the Triple H, from the pedigree, right? Is that do a lot of people bring that up and like that WWF match? Is that like a lot of people bring that up to you, mention that to you? A lot of people remember that because that was
Uh,
a obviously vicious pedigree back then.
yeah, man. It was. Sean Ross Sapp told me. He said, "Bro," he told somebody. He said that was the. I know it was a flub. He said, but man, that was the best, executed pedigree I'd ever seen. As far as if he could have done that to everyone, that'd have been awesome.
Right.
I wish
Yeah.
he could do that to everyone.
Yep.
Uh,
Definitely.
Pick a finisher you can give to everybody. And here was the thing about that, man. Whenever I took it, he was new there. I'm new up there, doing some jobs and stuff. I think it was in '96 and he said, "Can you take the pedigree?" I said, "Absolutely." I had no idea what a pedigree was. You know, I would just go kick. When he locked me in, I kicked, and it looked like a double underhook pile driver. You know,
Yep.
he said, "GD." He said, "You all right?" And I said, "Bro, I'm good." He goes, "Oh my God!" And he pinned me. He goes to the back, and when I come through the curtain, he said, "Bro, you sure you okay?" I said, "Brother, I'm fine. I am fine." And it was a rumor that I had sued WWE. Man, I never thought about suing WWE. I was just happy to be there and to do a TV match. I never thought about suing WWE. Never. I mean, I took a bad spill one time with Jeff Jarrett to the outside of the ring. If you get a chance to see that one, that was awesome, pretty awesome too. my right foot, I hit so hard. I did a scorpion when I hit the floor. Because I told Jeff Jarrett I was going to jump over the top rope and just to move out of the way. He says, "You want me to move out of the way?" I said, "Yeah." This was my very first match in WWE. So I dive over the top, man, and I see that cattle railing that I'm about to hit. I'm like, oh my God. So I went straight down. I tried to go straight down and tried to put my hands down to catch myself from the fall. When I put my hands down, they just split apart like this. And I missed the padding by about that much. I missed that padding they had out there. And my head hit the concrete floor. And then it hit the cattle railing. And then I was so balled up that my right heel hit me in the back of my shoulder blade.
Oh, geez.
It's incredible. I think they have that clip on maskwrestlers.com. I think something like that. I think that's where I saw it last time I seen it. But bro, you need to see that, man. That was incredible.
That sounds brutal. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. Oh my God.
It was brutal. And I said, those first couple of times at the WWE, I'm sure I scared the crap out of Vince McMahon to where he thought I was a danger, I was a risk, because I was trying to do too much. Like I said, I was a spot monkey. I was trying to do too much, and I think that scared him away from me a little bit. And because for years I used to dwell on it. I said, man, why couldn't I get there? And I think that was part of it. And I think that he had heard in my personal life I was a loose cannon, which I was. But man, how many loose cannons did he hire up there? You know what I'm saying? What about Brian Pillman? He wasn't a loose cannon,
right?
But a lot of those guys were nuts, man. Vince hired them, and I always said to myself, it couldn't have been my wrestling, because here's the thing: if he likes your gimmick, your wrestling doesn't matter. He'll teach you how to wrestle. I've seen him bring guys in that didn't know anything about wrestling, and he taught them how to wrestle because he liked the way they looked or liked their gimmick. So I said it was just something with my personality that just didn't, mesh with his. I mean, Vince was cool with me. He come out there one time, one night, and I was in the ring working out before a show, and he said it was going to be a pay-per-view that night. He said, "Marty, would you like to be on the pay-per-view?" And I said, "You mean on the dark match?" He goes, "No, I mean on the pay-per-view." I said, "Absolutely." And we're in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is only an hour from my house. He said, "You're going to be working MVP." He said he was supposed to work Brian Pillman, but he's not ready for Brian Pillman. He said, "I feel like he might be ready for you, though." And he started smiling. I said, "Yeah, okay." I said, "Absolutely." So I worked him on, I think it was No Mercy in 2006, No Mercy. I worked MVP. That was one of his first matches. And it went good. He just about slapped me silly in the beginning of the match because he was going to slap me. And I told him, I said, "Make it a good one, man." And he slapped me, and he caught me right in the ear with that hand. And if somebody slaps you in the ear real hard, you kind of get you a little stupid there for a minute. And I hit my knee. I went down to one knee, and I'm sitting there looking at the crowd going, okay, what am I doing? Where am I at? And it took me about 5 seconds to get my senses. And I said, okay, I got it. I'm in a wrestling match. And it scared me for a minute. But I was fine, and we had a great match. And, quick, but it was good. I enjoyed it. But another time, Vince came out there to me, and he wanted me to do a spot. Was her name Kelly Kelly? She was at WWE, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was Kelly. And she was doing a spot. I think it was Mike Awesome was acting like he was her boyfriend at the time. And I was in the crowd. I was a plant in the crowd. Vince said, "I want to plant Marty Garner in the crowd." He said, "I want Kelly to come over there and start flirting with him and playing, with her chest, on the camera or whatever." And he said, "Marty, you probably never seen a set of women's breasts, have you?" And I said, "Nah, I haven't." I said, "But it's going to be fun to see him tonight." And he just laughed, So we had a decent little relationship. When he did see me, he'd joke around with me. But I just never got that call. So.
Yeah, it's just with the Triple H thing, though. Everyone assumed that you were injured. Were you injured at all when that happened with that pedigree?
Not even. No.
Wow, really? Wow, because he really spikes you.
Well, my head hit a little bit, but man, it it didn't even affect me, man. I walked out of there with my neck wasn't hurting, nothing was wrong with me. Now the Jeff Jarrett thing that I was telling you about, when I walked into the locker room on that one, I was talking like this because I was hurt so bad. I couldn't really speak. I was talking like Johnny Laurinaitis. But I just couldn't talk, man, and that one hurt me. But never thought about suing. It was rumored that I sued about that thing too, or whatever. And I'm like, dude, what is all these people saying I'm suing WWE for? I would never do that.
Johnny Laurinaitis, not you're not his biggest fan, right? Is that true?
No, that's exactly right, man. I think you might have heard the story on the other podcast. Did you listen to that other podcast that I've done talking about him?
No, but I saw like a quote on Twitter, like from one of the wrestling news sites that picked it up. It said something about you and not liking Johnny Ace. That he banned
Right.
you from the backstage or something with him.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I did a few years of enhancement work, extra
Yep.
work, whatever you want to call it, and I uh, I had a. Do you remember Vladimir Kozlov
Yes. Yep.
at WWE? Okay, he and I worked about 3 different times, and every time I come up there, Vladimir, after the first time I worked him, he goes, Marty, maybe me and you work tonight. I said, brother, it ain't up to me, it's up to them. You got to ask, somebody else, man. I said, I can't. Yeah, I said, yeah, me, yeah, I want to work you, yeah, absolutely, man. And so I told him, I said, go ask Arn Anderson, somebody, one of the agents. So we got to work 3 times, and the last time I worked him, man, we had a great match. Um, he comes up to me, just a quick little side note. He come up to me in the locker room and he goes, Marty, I want you to punch me. I said, okay. He said, no, I mean now. I said, like a work punch? He says, no, like a real punch. I said, no, man, I don't want to hit you like that. He goes, no, I want you to. Right now. He goes, yeah. So I hit him with about 75%, man, right in the jaw. And he goes, yes, like that. He said, you do that in the ring. And I'm like, okay. So
Wow.
anyway, we go out there. We had a nice little match. And, of course, it wasn't very long. And at the end of the night, I said, Johnny, can I talk to you for a minute? He goes, yeah, man. And he said, what is it, Marty? I said, look, what's it going to take for me to try to get a job here, man? And he says, well, he said, Marty, you want me to be honest with you? I said, absolutely. He said, we don't think we can make any money with you. I said, oh, really? And I kind of chuckled. And I said, man, have you never looked at any of my tapes I sent you, my clip tapes, my promos, none of that? He goes, nah. He said, I don't have time to look at tapes, man. I said, all that stuff I did, all those photos, all the videos, everything, you've never seen any of it. He goes, no. I said, well, there's the problem. And he said, I'll tell you what, you go make a name for yourself somewhere, somehow. Go to Puerto Rico, go somewhere. He said, go overseas and do something, Japan somewhere. He said, and then come back and talk to me. He said, but I want you to create a stir. So I started thinking about it, and I told Matt Hardy at the time, I said, Matt, I said, well, I got to think of something, man. And that's back when Facebook was going on. And I had a little Facebook page. And, oh, no, not Facebook, MySpace. You remember MySpace?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So what I did is I wrote a blog on MySpace called The Forgotten Beatle. When the Beatles came over here from England, they left a guy behind. His name was Pete Best. And they left him
Yes.
behind. So he was going to be the fifth Beatle. And he didn't come. So he never became the fifth Beatle. And I felt like the fifth Beatle with Matt and Jeff and Jason Arndt and Shannon gone. I was the number 5. That was my clique right there. So I said I was a forgotten Beatle. And I said, and I talked about how people would come up to me asking for autographs from Matt and Jeff, wanting me to get them an autograph from Matt and Jeff. And I said, what a hard pill that is to swallow whenever you got to get an autograph from somebody. And I never denied anybody. I'd always do it. But they didn't know how hard that was for me to do that.
Right.
And so I asked Matt, I said, what should I do with this blog? He said, send it to every wrestling newsletter we can. And that thing in a couple of weeks got over 100,000 hits. And we were just amazed. And And about, I don't know, 2.5 weeks, Fighting Spirit magazine called me and wanted to do an article on me, like I think it was a 4-page spread with pictures and everything, and me working for The Rock, and me and the Hardy Boys together and all this stuff. And they called it the Forgotten Beetle. Great article, man. And so I was making some headway. People started a campaign online, and they called it the Hire Cham-Pain campaign. And Matt Hardy said, Marty, there are people bringing signs to the shows that say Hire Cham-Pain. He said, we'll be out back walking to our cars, and we'll see a big sign that says Hire Cham-Pain. He said, and they're bringing them to the shows. So one Monday Night Raw, Matt called me, said, Marty, you got to turn the TV on. There's 2 or 3 signs in the audience that say Hire Cham-Pain. You got to check them out. I turned, which I had a TV on anyway. And I was trying to find the signs, and I couldn't find them. And they had some of the signs blurred out. Those were my signs they had blurred out. I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
Dude, they got my signs blurred out. And he said, right after that, they went to England and did a show. And he said, the Undertaker gets on the bus after the show. They was all riding the bus back to their hotels, whatever. He said, Undertaker gets on the bus with all the boys, and he goes, did anybody see that 6-foot Hire Cham-Pain sign in the crowd tonight? And he looked at Matt and said, Matt, isn't that your boy Marty Garner? He goes, yeah. He goes, what's going on with that? So Matt tells him. He said, well, tell him I hope it works, man. He said, I hope he gets in like that. And a few days after that, Matt calls me. Well, first of all, let me back up and say I went to a show in Greensboro, a WWE show. I'm walking through the parking lot. I see a car, Hire Cham-Pain on every window, man. It had Hire Cham-Pain all over that car. So naturally, I took pictures with it. And so Matt calls me a few days after that. He said, Johnny Laurinaitis called me and wants your number. I said, here we go. This is it. And Matt said, man, hope this works, man. And so Johnny called me. He said, Marty, did you start a Hire Cham-Pain campaign? I said, well, I didn't start it, but it got started. He said, and did you give somebody my personal email? Did you give out my personal email? I said, no, I don't even know your personal email, Johnny. Which it would probably be pretty easy to get if you just, put jlaurinaitis@www.com. I'm sure that's what it was. But I didn't tell him that. He said, well, I'm getting 300 to 500 emails a day about you wanting to hire you. And I'm sure some of those were bots. Somebody had a bot doing it probably. But he said, I don't want to see you anymore, Marty. I said, Johnny, you told me to cause a stir. You told me to make a stir. I said, I did. I said, Johnny, I'm just trying to get an effing job. He goes, oh, now you're cursing at a senior official of WWE. I said, Johnny, I'm not cursing at you. I'm cursing about the situation. I said, man, I've given all I had to get to this point, man. And all the stuff I've done, you haven't even checked any of it out. I said, give me an opportunity. Let me show you what I can do. He goes, Marty, I don't want to ever see you again. If you come to the show, if I see you in the locker room, I'm going to have you arrested.
Okay? Wow.
So I never went back, man. And that's the last time I went to a WWE locker room.
Damn. Any talks with him ever again after that, or that was it?
That was it, man. I didn't see any need. I mean, I guess I should have, but I didn't see any need to because he wasn't digging it, And here's another crazy story. I don't think I've ever told this on a podcast before, but I had heat with Bruce Pritchard for some reason. When Matt and Jeff was with the Brood with Gangrel, I was up there and I was going to get to work Matt that night in an enhancement match. He was up there full time, and I'm coming up still doing enhancement work. And they said, all right, Marty, you and Matt tonight, blah, blah, blah. You got 4 or 5 minutes, and blah, blah, blah. We had a match planned out, man, because me and Matt worked each other all the time. So we were going to turn it out. And they're already out there, the Gangrel and Matt. No, wait a minute. No. I was getting ready to go out there before they went out. And Bruce Pritchard sees me. I'm in the gorilla position, ready to go out the curtain. And Bruce Pritchard says, Marty, what are you doing up here? I said, I'm getting ready to go work Matt. He said, no, you're not. Bruce Pritchard makes a call down to the locker room or wherever. He had somebody get up there within like a minute and a half, and they went out there and worked Matt. And I'm like,
wow.
What what was that about? You know, um, you know, and I'll tell you this too. One time I was up there and Road Dog looked at me. He said, Marty Garner, you are here more than anybody I know. He said, why ain't you got a job yet? And actually, let me back up and say this. That same day, I was in catering. Undertaker walks in and says, Marty Garner, you're here more than I am. What's going on with that? So, man, just trying to get a job, big boy. And he just started laughing. And so Road Dog says that day, he goes, Marty, I just can't believe you ain't got a job yet. He said, I'm going to find out why you ain't got a job up here. He said, I'm going to go talk to Vince. And so I don't know. Sometimes Road Dog ribs people. So I don't know if he was ribbing me or what, but he come back in about an hour. He said, Marty, what did you do to piss Vince off? I said, nothing. He said that you come in the locker room like you own the place and you come in with your cowboy hats on and you crazy gear. I said, bro, I'm just trying to be a wrestler. I don't know what to do. I said, I talk to everybody. I'm nice to everybody. I said, are you serious, man? Did you really talk to him? He goes, yeah. He said he's got some kind of heat with you about that. And I said, wow. So I went and talked to Shane, his son, and I was talking to Shane, man. I was tearing up. I said, Shane, I don't know what I've done, man. I said, man, I'm working my tail off trying to be here. I said, you know, and I started to tear up. I said, man, I'm sorry. He goes, nah, man, I know what it's like to chase a dream. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. You're a rich boy. You've never chased it. But anyway, but I like Shane. Don't get me wrong. I like Shane a lot. He was a very cool dude. But I finally just had to walk off because I was about just to lose it, man. And I was like, man. And, you know, just little stuff like that kept happening. Here's another crazy story I'll tell you real quick. If I'm talking too much, just cut me off, bro. But I'm just
Oh no, go. Perfect.
So Jason, Joey Abs, he gets a job up there, you know. And everybody's telling me after Matt and Jeff left Omega, they said, Marty, you're the next guy to go. Jason went next. Shannon Moore went next. Joey Mercury, Christian York, they went next. Mike Maverick, Murray Haffer, they went next. And I'm like, man, I guess, you know, I'm never going. So Jason's up there. And like I told you, my psychology was a little bit off. Jason says, I'm standing outside at WWE headquarters one day out. He was in the weight room or something. He goes, and Shane McMahon comes up to me and says, guess who we were just talking about? He goes, who? He said, Marty Garner. He said, let me ask you a question, Jason. Did he run over his girlfriend with a Corvette? And Jason knew the story. I was going on a wrestling trip and she was about a nut job anyway. She hits me with her Corvette because she didn't want me to leave. She was mad at me, and I'm walking across the parking lot to meet Mike and Murray at the gym, and I have my bags in hand, and we've been arguing all night, and I hear the Corvette behind me, and she hit me, and of course the Corvette's hood is scooped down, thank God, so she didn't run over me with the tires. I just rolled off the hood and went over and made a payphone call because my cell phone was crushed from the night before. I'd gotten mad, and anyway, had to get the police out there. And so she hit me with the car. And Mike and Murray, when they got in the car, they were like, dude, you got to get rid of her, man. She's going to kill you. So they asked Jason about this thing that I run over my girlfriend with a car. And Jason says, man, I don't know. I don't know the whole story, man. I don't know what happened. And I'm like, Jason, why did you say that? Because, bro, I thought they were testing me. I didn't know. I don't know the whole story. I said, yes, I told you the whole story, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He buried me right there. And then he tells me this. He says, a week later, he says, Shane comes up to me. He says, man, we was talking about Marty again today in the business meeting. He says, how's Marty in the ring? Jason said, well, he's a little crazy, but he said, he'll do whatever you want him to do. I said, dude. Now, Jason tells me, I'm not making this up. This is what Jason told me. He would tell you this right now if he was sitting here. I said, Jason, as many matches as me and you work, as hard as you know I want to get up there, and you going to say something like that? He said, man, if I'd have told him something different and you went up there and did something crazy, he said, then I'd have been in trouble. I said, Jason, dude. So he buried me twice like that, and he told me he buried me. You know, he didn't say I buried you, but he told me what he said, and I pretty much buried me.
Yeah, which is burying you. Yeah. Yep.
So, and another quick story for you. This is a good one. Shannon will tell you this too. Shannon Moore. Shannon was like 19, 18 or 19. We're at Matt's house one day. Me, Matt, Jeff, Shannon. Inside the house, and the phone rings. It's a call from WCW looking for Shannon. They called his house, and it was Chris Candido, and not Chris Candido, Chris Canyon had called looking for Shannon, and because they wanted to bring in somebody young down there, you know, good looking kid, and wanted to do a tryout match with him, and so Matt talked to him for a little while, and then he says, Shannon, this is for you. It's WCW. They want to give you a contract. Shannon gets on the phone, blah, blah, blah. A week later, they were going to be in Atlanta. And so I tell Shannon, I said, look, man, if you want me to ride down there to Atlanta with you, I'll drop you off at the arena at 1 or 2 o'clock, whatever time you got to be there. I said, I'll go to the mall. I said, and if they want you to work somebody that you know, you call me. I'll come back to the arena. Me and you will work, and I'll put you over big, man. I said, it might give me a look too. He said, all right, man, I'll think about that. And a few days later, he called me and said, man, I think I'm going to go by myself, man. I said, okay. Come to find out, he took Shane Helms with him. And him and Shane tried out, and they both got a job. I'm like, wow. So anyway, he said, well, I didn't know what to do, man. He said, and the reason I took Shane was because, you know, he was a little bit younger than you and this and that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So that happened too, and that broke my heart right there. I couldn't believe it. But you know, but that's some of the stories, and not to say poor pitiful me, but I mean everything happens for a reason. And it wasn't meant for me to be there at that time. I might not be here right now if I'd have been there. I might have died, you know, horrified.
Right.
Anyway,
Right. Yeah, you never know.
think about what might have happened. You know, it's fun to think about that. What might have happened.
Now, as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish here. We mentioned it before. How the hell did you start working for Dwayne the Rock Johnson? How did that all come about? You're basically his assistant, right?
Right. Well, here's what happened. I'm gonna try to condense this story down a little bit. I was working a show in Raleigh one night. Me and my buddy Scott Matthews, who used to be at Black Skull, and anyway, Scott got approached by a guy. He said, "Man, I'm with Epic Games." He said, "I'd like for you to come do some stunts for me, man," because Scott did standing back flip and all this crazy stuff. And Scott told him once he started working for him a little bit, he said, "Man, did you see Cham-Pain the other night?" He said, "Yeah, man." He said, "Would you want him to come work too?" He said, "Yeah, absolutely." They brought me up, and I started working for him. And man, he's paying me $100 an hour. Man, I thought that was great. And so then he sends me to California. This guy wants me to go to California to do a game with his friend out there at I can't remember the name of that place, but anyway, I'm doing stunts out there. Me and Murray Happer went out there, boat up, and we go out there and doing stunts. And the guy says, "Hey, man, do you know Dwayne Johnson?" I said, "Yeah." He said, he's out here doing a movie right now." He said, "How good do you know him?" I said, "Well, I used to know him at WWE, and we hung out a little bit, man." I said, "Man, he's a cool dude, man." He said, "Well, I'm going to call him and tell him you're with me." I said, "Okay." Because he got it. He said, "I got his number last week." He called and left a message, and Rock never called back the next day. I felt like an idiot. And he said, "Well, he's doing a movie down, you know, I know where the movie set's at." I said, "Man, I don't know about, you know, I might get heat if I go down there." He said, "Nah, you with me, man." He said, it's my fault. Anything wrong happened." I said, "Okay." We go down there and we see a stunt double, and Tunnel Y Reed. And Tunnel Y said, "Yeah, Dwayne's already gone, man." He said, "Y'all come to the bar with him." We went to the bar with him, and he calls Rock on a cell phone, and I could hear Rock talking on the other end. You know, he had the phone to his ear, but you could still hear him. He told him, he said, "You know a guy named Cham-Pain?" He said, "Marty Garner." He said, "Yeah, man." He said, "He's here with me." "No way." He said, "Put him on the phone. Put him on the phone." I got on the phone. He said, "What are you doing in California, man?" I said, "I'm doing some stunts on a video game." He goes, "Dude, you got to come out tomorrow night to Hollywood and Vine. We're shooting a scene for the Rundown on Hollywood and Vine from 12 midnight to 6 in the morning." I said, all right, I'll come out there. I don't know what time. He said, it don't matter what time. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so we get out there and they say cut. As soon as they say cut, he goes, first name Cham, last name Pain. He went through my whole spiel. I mean, and I'm like, I didn't know he knew my whole spiel, but I'd given him a tape of me doing my mic work and stuff, and he had actually memorized it. And after he's done, everybody's clapping. He goes, no, that ain't me, that's him. He said, that's Cham-Pain right there. And he come up and hugged me, man. He said, boy, you look good and this and that. We went to the dinner table that night, man, and we ate dinner with Rock. And he said something, man, I don't tell a lot of people because a lot of people say, oh, yeah, that's BS. He said, look, I'm not saying I stole Marty's lines, he said, but I love the way he did his promos. He said, so I stole a little bit of that on my promos. And I'm like, wow. And I about teared up right there. I was like, wow, that's big. He just said that. And anyway, he tells me, man, you got to stay till the weekend. I said, man, I got to go back to work. He said, let me call you boss. You got to stay till the weekend. He said, we're doing a wrap-up party on Saturday, man. I'll take care of you. I'll put you in a hotel and all that, man. So I stayed, and Murray went back home, and all that, and man, had a blast. Met Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake the first night. We was hanging out at some club in California, and I'm thinking, this ain't happening to me. This is crazy.
Right.
So that was in January 2003, and in March 2003, they had WrestleMania where Rock was wrestling Stone Cold, and I don't even know what number of WrestleMania that was, but anyway,
19.
yeah, there you go. And anyway, it was Stone Cold's last match, of course. And Rock didn't know I was coming out there, and he found out I was out there at the hotel, and I've come out there with like $100 in my pocket, and I was about broke by the time I got to the hotel. I didn't have a room, didn't have anything planned. I just come out there on a whim. I said, yeah, I'm just going to go out there. He said, man, where you staying at, man? I said, I'm trying to stay at this hotel, man. He said, Matt and Jeff got your room, or Shannon, or anybody? I said, or Shane? I said, nah. He said, you go stay with Tunawai, man. He said, Tunawai has got an extra bed. He said, man, he don't mind. He said, do you, Tunawai? He said, no, man, come on. So he said, I want you to come out to eat with us tonight too, Marty. He said, me, Ray Mysterio, a bunch of the boys are going out. So we went out to eat. And I forget who all went out, but we had like 10 people. And the bill comes, and the bill's like $1,600 for the meal. And I had a AT&T phone card in my pocket for like 30 minutes on it. Back in the day, you had to use 30-minute phone cards to make long distance calls on your cell phone. So I throw that, it looked like a credit card. So I throw it down on top of the bill. I said, take care of it with that. And Rock came unglued. He thought that was the funniest thing. He said, boy, you better put them 30 minutes back in your pocket. And I said, look here, man, go ahead and buy yourself something pretty with that too, if you want to. And on the way back to the hotel, he told me this later. He said, man, you broke my heart that night. You asked me this question. He said, you asked me if you should buy a ticket to WrestleMania or should you come in the back. He said, and that broke my heart. And that's when I told you, you come with me to WrestleMania tomorrow. And I went with Rock. Me, him, and a stunt double went out that morning, ran out to the limo, man. There was a crowd of people out there, man, trying to get to the limo. Rock pulls his glasses down and he looked at me when he got in the limo. He said, you ain't never seen nothing like that, have you? I said, not from where I'm from. And he thought
Right.
that was. Anyway, I stayed an extra couple days after WrestleMania, man. And I get a call from Rock about 2 months, 3 months later. And he says, look, man, you ain't never asked me for nothing, man. He said, now I'm going to ask you for something. He said, you've always wanted to be my friend, and I appreciate you for that. He said, so would you like to come work on a movie set with me? The movie's called Walking Tall. Going to film it in Vancouver, Canada. He said, I'll pay you $2,500 a week, put you up in a 5-diamond hotel, and all expenses are paid. I said, let me check on that. Yep. And next thing I know, man, 2 weeks later, I was in Vancouver, Canada for 10 weeks filming Walking Tall, and had a blast. And we went all over man, we went halfway around the world, man, on private jets and stuff, man. And I still can't believe I got to do all that. I'm from a little bitty town of 785 people, and I got to fly with The Rock all over the world. I witnessed him become a high chief of Samoa. Been with him in Australia, man, all over the place, man. And it was just so unreal, man. first night I'm in Vancouver, let me back up and just say this real quick. I know we're winding up, but the first night I'm in Vancouver with him, I'm standing in the VIP of a nightclub. He's behind me talking to a bunch of people. We're in the VIP section. The VIP section is like 5 feet above the dance floor, and I'm looking down on everybody, man, and I'm like, this ain't happening. I'm in another country. I'm working for a movie company, making $2,500 a week, and I'm working for The Rock. This is unreal, man. So he comes up to me, puts his arm around my shoulder. He goes, "Hey, man, welcome to the family." And bro, when he said that, I put my finger up like this, and I had to walk off for a minute. I had to gather myself because I'm about bawled right there. I said, "Man, I appreciate it, dude." He goes, "Nah," he said, "there's gonna be plenty more times like this. Welcome to the family, man." Woo. So yeah, that was a
Awesome.
big step, man. About brought me to tears. But
Awesome,
that,
man. What a not only career, what a life for you. What an interesting, from Omega to ECW, WWF, dealing with the Rock, being his. I mean, what a wild ride for Marty Garner.
bro, it's been crazy, man. And I've actually done talk shows. I did Montel Williams talk show. I did Sally Jesse Raphael, and I did Jenny Jones. And I used to do a rap. I was a rap artist at one time. I had a rap album out, just out at the shows. It was something I did myself. You know, it wasn't like a nationally uh, uh, produced rap album. But man, I've done all kind of crazy stuff, man. I've tried so hard all my life to get to that next level, and I never got there. And it's okay. I'm not bitter, but you know, it's just not. It hadn't been the right thing, I guess. Not the right time, not the right thing, and and that's fine. But
What's next for you? What do you got coming up?
um, there's a match coming up. It's not real soon. It's like I think it's like in a month. It's a tribute to Andre the Giant, and they asked me to be on the show. Uh, and Mark Henry's going to be there. Jerry Lawler's going to be there, as a matter of fact, and a few other guys from here and there scattered in and out. I'm looking really forward to doing that, man. That's going to be a lot of fun. And right now, I'm coaching my little girls softball team, and you know, I also am a MMA judge for North Carolina and a boxing judge for North Carolina. So I do a lot of that too on the weekend. I might judge an MMA fight this weekend. Next weekend, it might be a boxing match somewhere, or I might be off the next weekend. You know, but I've always got something going on, man. I keep it. I keep it jumping.
Where can everybody find you? I know you said no more Facebook, but where can everybody maybe reach out to you social media wise, or just kind of follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, you can go to Twitter. It's Marty underscore Garner, Garner, Marty underscore Garner at Twitter. And then my Instagram is, let's see, it's at, no, Instagram is Cham-Pain 22. Yeah, Cham-Pain 22. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's Cham-Pain, Champain, Marty Garner. You can find a lot of my videos on there, and but yeah, reach out to me on those two platforms, and or my email is Marty Garner 2014 at yahoo.com.
All right, Marty, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for having me, John. Man, it's been a blast, brother.